Your Holiness has consented to give teachings on the 8 verses of training the mind, and that's in compassion. And they're very short verses, but they're very profound verses. And talking about compassion and teaching about compassion, as Your Holiness says, compassion is not just something for Buddhists. Every spiritual tradition finds compassion essential and encourages the development of compassion. Even people who are not a member of a spiritual tradition, even people, many in Holland, who don't want to consider themselves spiritual at all, they find compassion very important. So these teachings are useful for all of us, whether we are believers or non-believers. So we are greatly honored that Your Holiness is here, talking about developing compassion. We're sure that your presence will be an inspiration, and these teachings will be an inspiration to us all. Thank you.
So, oh, not working? Good morning. Now today, one sort of say teaching or explanation of one small, or say the book, Langdan Sikye.
8 verses on training the mind.
The essence of this text is mainly altruism. So this text, I think, can, as my friend is mentioned, can be useful. Everyone, not necessarily Buddhist, but genuine practitioner of Christian, Islam, Judaism, so on, since all carry the message of love. So how to practice daily? One advantage is some thick books, then sometimes you see, we feel boring. That this is very short. So you can keep in your pocket. And since I think quite young, I think me around 15, 16-year-old, you see, I received teaching about this book, and then by heart. So every day I recite this and reflect. Very useful. And also useful when we are flying at the airport, because of fly after the delay, and then wait. Just recite this. You see, otherwise people sort of excite. Oh, like that. So very useful. Then I think maybe worthwhile to explain about basic structure of Buddhadharma. Now I speak in Tibetan. Translate. Da? Sanjebe Chudi, Zabuli Digangeta, Chuju Gahane Yondeva, Gahag Chuju Zoshe Shadori.
Buddhism is one of the major world religions that originated in India.
Then Nenam Judiciary, any Jeng Churda, Sanjebe Churda, Changshan Harmi Butter, the Yidigi, any Jidukobo Shegiamari. Jazanga Jamden de Ran Chashan, Dagana Shingi, any Jeng Mahavira, Kibuchumbo, Mahavira, Virus Cascore. Mahavira, Virus Cascore.
Top. Top city.
Right.
No.
Kanda any
Power.
Changjing, Changjimari under the Jirube, Damba. Any Changjin Hameba, Didi, Kanda Chikunju, Jibes of the Kimmeche, Miranchi. Penataba Shake to Shashana, Mirancha. Any Rimbe, me given the Tungi see. The Rigatane, any took never June. Any tasted to Javalia, Ye deve, any Shineta Pangdon. Jahal Tumulu deve Pangdon de, any Shiraga never change. The Pangdon Sati. There's no pleasure, Ludukaja, the Zukodo, the Yamshina. Internet in Begi. And the Tasia the Pados, Combashi in the Zane, any Dabu Tawas a day, any the Punju Zawaiba. Chadang Zawa, the Dabu Tawati Yungu. So the Hindu, any Tadi Zajidu, Yamitinichi. In the Hindu, and Dole Disumbre, any Dajishaw, Dugism. Ten tower Kilva in Dujipungu Ditonde, Teratan Humans. One of the Daneva Western, Maris, Chidriana, Sonala, Denishing the Jevada, teaching Pungunam Dene, Guzosum Jevins. Chenny, what a Dame Tower. Dame, Sidu Daneva Western, Maris. Dahasiadi. Then Shingdayana Sawala Dene, Shingde Tanya Tawanasi, Pumbu Sawala Dene, and Zoda Namshi Pumburi, Namshi Pumbula Dene, and Das and Davaris, Sodwa.
So, usually I explain that among the major world religions that originated in Tibet, in India, Buddhism, Jainism, and one sector of Samkhyaism, ancient Indian tradition. In all of these three major traditions of India, when we think about the founders of these great spiritual traditions, such as the Buddha, Mahavir, and the teachers of the Samkhya tradition, given that these three major traditions are non-theistic, the understanding of these founders were really just human beings who began on their spiritual... Mahavir of Jainism. So in these three traditions, the teachers like the Buddha, Mahavir, and so on are actually seen as human beings, originally just like us, who then through the spiritual quest attained the state of enlightenment. And these great teachers were undertaking spiritual practices and techniques that were available at the time of ancient India. And these techniques involve single-pointedness of mind, like shamatha type practice, and vipassana, which is more discursive and analytic type practice, vipassana that involves comparison of the samsaric state and the more advanced states of existence. So it is based on the application of these techniques and cultivations of their mind, they are able to attain the states that these great beings have attained. Now, in the case of the Buddha, as he delved deeper into these understandings of the mind. And one of the most important focus has been the analysis of the nature and existence of self. What is self? And through this deep process of inquiry, Buddha has come to the realization that there is no such thing as independent self that is independent of the body. So therefore, when one subjects the existence and the true nature of self to such critical inquiry, in the final analysis, there is no such self to be found. Therefore, in Buddha's scriptures, in the sutras, for example, Buddha have stated that the notion that I am is in fact the source of our problem. And however, if you search, where that self is, our notion of self just turns out to be a view, just a view that we have. And that view, if you examine where it is based on, it's on our physical and mental constituents that make up our existence, but beyond them, they are nowhere to be found. Then the question is asked, does that mean that we don't exist? Does that mean there is nothing, there is no such thing as a person? Then Buddha makes the following statement in the same sutra, where he says that just as on the basis of combination of the various parts, such as the wheels, the axles, and so on, the notion of a carriage comes to our mind. In the same way, it is on the basis of the combination of various physical and mental attributes that the notion of a person comes into being. So the Buddha is saying that it's not the case that nothing exists. There is a person on the conventional level, just as there is a carriage. In the same way, however, if we subject that notion to analysis beyond what is the basis of that label, there isn't any independent self.
No, yeah. So, Lujugi in Zawashirnalia, any Ladan Yomo said Tar, Ladan Yomo Namdole, Teda Jele, Jabani Tomaji Kawajuris, China Jabadi, any Tenzinia Sunguyari. So that day comba Aryan de Shivjabanania, any Hasadi City or the Tangi out to Chenekanda, any now one verses usually I always I recite, but this moment difficult to remember. Yes, I'm the day. Right?
Did you tell John? Tona Timu Jung did the red.
Dimmer,
Topeton, Ching.
Dimmer, that check him. Kanda any Numumbe, any Zawati, any Dr. Dalai Chumbaris, any Dr. Other day, Lulu Luan, dang it. Now I remember. Lulu Luan, Jishin to Timukun and Nejude. Teaching your more time, Timu jump is jumpers. That? Don't a Timu jump down country is love. Danger devil Jung, Tona Timu Juminju. Teaching Baba couldn't did, Tam the Thomas never Charles. She gave it to So that day, combination Jiggy was Umujuganania, Thangpa Nashitala Shankish, Dag and dishing on a charge. Sujun Chanda Ram, ever Roland Jikiwater and do Shani. Other Na say Diggy, Shishin, any Chadankia, those in Yungiaris, tell it in any, le civil call a pair, less sunny, any Sujun coronation, you much which, any that the name of Junior Saturday. Or do send done to attach, Smutua, just on down with all the huge catch over the shot.
So, to explain this Buddha's insight into the truth of no self in a more deeper way, Nagarjuna, in his stanzas on the middle way, explains how, karma, the karmic actions that really project existence into the samsara, are really arises through our mental projections of false mental projections. These false mental projections really are rooted in grasping at true existence of things, attributing some kind of self-existence to things. Therefore, this attribution of self-existence to things is really the fundamental ignorance. And that fundamental ignorance can only be removed if we are able to stop attributing false projections onto reality. And that process can only be brought to an end by the realizing the truth of emptiness. And then Nagarjuna's own student Aryadeva explains this point further, where he says that just as the body sense permeates all other senses, sense organs, the eye organs, ears, and so on, in the same manner, the fundamental ignorance grasping at objective existence really permeates all of our cognitions, particularly our emotions. And it is therefore the root of all of our afflictive emotions is really this fundamental ignorance grasping at true existence. And it is by seeing the truth of dependent origination in terms of emptiness that one will be able to really put an end to that whole process and bring an end to this fundamental ignorance. Therefore, a wise person should really always engage in the discourse on emptiness and contemplation on emptiness. And similarly, Chandrakirti explains in the Entering the Middle Way, where he says that sentient beings revolve in this existence first by having the notion of I am. So the sense of self arises. And based on the sense of I and I am, we then have the notion of mine, my this, my that, and my own. And then on the basis of I and a mine, then we create a whole network of reactions and to relations to the world around us. And in this way, we chain ourselves. So therefore, reflecting upon all of these teachings and insights, one point that comes very clear is how important it is to cultivate the view of no self, anatman.
Oh yeah. Chazang zambu di gangi da zo da jahane re. Eni jidun ko bo mindingen chu chu che yare. Yine da sanje be chögi da me be da sung ge yare. Shen chulu samolo da da di yade yare.
So although, as explained before, there are other non-theistic traditions that originated in India, such as Jainism and one portion of Samkhya tradition, but it is only in Buddhism where the teachings on no self is explained and emphasized. So no self, the view of no self is unique to Buddhist tradition.
Da, anda jamden degi ngoma zobo sang yene. Sang jema ta chirda ani soshi zhe ge sen de meche du de bi chi ko ni su le dan jiang ko men ni be men ma na ji na de ne ba chas ani chi ko ba lu lu je du su la yin na sa wa xi wa zhe zhe ge sen de meche sen sha de wa da chi du su zhe le yin na xiong gong ba jia dian shi le re di so ji sam dan wei yin na Sabshi sayadigi kolo Thangpa denshi le zamde konde ni sungduwa. Di sabshi sayadigi. Zhe sayadigi kolo parwe shijingi shungdi digi dongpa niga dang zo danla pa nyungu yorba. Chazanga zhe dongpa niga dang zo da sungu yorba zane kolo parwa dishe. Yosen dimashe sayadigi kolo Thangpa ani 디시고 인분도 콜로 타면은 너 맨자 먹고 요래 이내다 소지기 귤라면 시사사도 디시고 인분도 사다 되게 로이고 샌드위치 송도와 시베고 저들이 이제 뜻도 저리나 콜로 발베 유유에서 송 콜로타메 유진그 외세도 손. 되네야 아니 유진그 외세가 남샤 쉽지 타워. 쎄도 되는 손에디 말라메 그런 거야래. 다 디몬줄이야 아니 기도 오모 숨체 가다 나람 콜로타메 유진 외세 짠드진 송샤 디도 나람다 제정해지 도와. 이 공단음식 세부 송야래. 제상와 전전대기 상 개만타라 서시저에서 되어서기 송디기 고스텔이야 다 정군메도와 에는 콜로 탐고 콜로 파바 콜로 타마신 송야 디디기 지금 공부 디디 예되신 송시어开始 레스로 쳐가래. 나디 대지 대도 다도 다와도 용자래. 다 매버서 송야 디 이니 로마 공부를 엔다디 차달을 자기 냥가 여러 일산에 술로 된게 고하면 베스 아니 샤슈 시부는 지금이야 아니 송주 만한 채도 쇼래 좀제들이 진거래 되네 신에 아니 95 되네로서 당연히 좀 된데 못 챙겨야래 아니 권한주다 좀 된데 지다도 무슨 리드잖아요 지 김내고 저도 좋아 된적이 아니 계속 그 뒤술로 쉬고서 뭐인데 지 공부하다 쉬고 지금 서울에 지금 시제 다음에 뭐인데 지금 참고로서 또 저요 할 때도 또 95 년에로서 아니 미 땡진게 다 되죠 지도 레이드잖아요 아니 도마 아니 유월은스리야 대시 청고서 뭐지 대시 청고기 아니 담바시디 아니 군의 용무초 경제 찍다 남자 쪽이 경제 찍자니 담바시체 다 담바르리아 캐시시시자니 미다서 주루 다들 리뷰 중이고도 쉬우지 자셔버리셔 디다 denshi midasu juru da nangwe shung samolaku sungli yarala da zayadu dani ma shik rikwe zhuya di peche namri liu nibadi bishi kasa kye shunga namri liu nibadi shivu jiri sha rwa tsama gyurwa yindandi da dakwaran rugu tsama ma resi gyuru dani chunga resi gyurwa sayadi da tsama gyurwa wana gyudu kyanla dani tsama gyurwa yana gyujin karesi na 탑도 싫어 미치네 도 선다 송야디 쉬우자고도 와 제네 디지미다 레도네 동엘은 담에서 셔서마 도신 아니 가다 아니 미다서 주루디디 14, 15지 경쟁 그 타네 먼저 나셔야지도 와 자, 가다 군의 용어죠 경제직 남자 쪽의 경제직 소인들 전에다 다음에 다들 내용이야래 고된 사지 제니 시절 시의 뭐지다 상당으로 다디니 된지기다 주저 아니 방저 가야로 저 단도 방배 차와지 예배이나 다디 컨저스 주고래 다디 시버 디 주야리야 그디 개인 미진셔 시버체 디게 아니 도전 아니 경제 송셔가 디기타네 군주 담바 세야디 오 세주션 전에 아니 동네 교직 못해 대 록시 뭐 뭐베네서라 배 치지로 또되네 사진인데 로카이네 뭐베네서다 개등의 시기 된지기 또버디 록시 차도고요 록시 관배왕기 숙성부 그제 연에 콜 녀부야 말 가서 콜이야 잡대요 말 자, 머리비 지도 소원은 시 줍매대 버지기 봐 뭐인지 차대요 딱 뭐인지 차대도 대 지성 그 딱세셔 지성 그게 굶지 때문에 저기 그 머리비 년비 초리 숙셔주 쳐줘야지 쟤네 머리비디 콜로스베크도 심정신이 외사와 송샤 대다 제니 용도 아니 고된 사실 용초가 요시오지 로셔도 제가 도스네 남자 쪽이 경제 니체네 어디 딘시 독스 소물이 이 산지의 추급에 덤 전부 쉬워져래샤. 단전에 노랭을 드셨다.
So after the Buddha's enlightenment, according to the scriptures, the Buddha was reluctant to actually give the teaching. There is a beautiful passage in the scripture which says that I have found this truth which is profound, tranquil, and free of conceptual elaborations and unconditioned. So it is like a nectar of immortality, but because I fear that no one will understand, I shall remain, non-speaking and remain in the forest. So that's the passage from the scripture. Buddha characterizes the truth that has attained in terms of attributes such as profound, tranquil, free of conceptual elaboration, and unconditioned. So all of these can be seen as attributes of the teaching on no self, anatman. Or one could also understand them separately by saying profound and tranquil refers to the teachings on samsara and nirvana. So it's really the teachings of the first turning of the wheel of Dharma, which is really teaching on the Four Noble Truths, which explains the relationship and cause and effect of how a sentient being goes into taking a birth in a samsaric existence, and how through practice one can gain freedom out of this. So which is the heart of the teachings on the Four Noble Truths. And then the third attribute, freedom from conceptual elaboration or absence of conceptual elaboration, can be seen as an attribute of emptiness, which is the main teaching of the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, whose primary text includes such as the Perfection of Wisdom, Prajnaparamita Sutras. And then the final attribute, which is unconditioned, the clear light, luminous and unconditioned. These two attributes can be referring to the teachings of the third turning of the wheel of Dharma, where the main subject matter is the Tathagata Garbha, the Buddha nature. And the Buddha nature is unconditioned. And here, so in this way, one can see how the second turning of the wheel of Dharma really emphasizes the emptiness, which is the object of the wisdom. And the third turning of the wheel of Dharma, the main subject matter is the luminous character of the subjective mind. So you can say that there is the subjective clear light and the objective clear light. And so in this way, one can understand the third turning of the wheel of Dharma really sort of sets the stage for the further more advanced teachings that emerges in the highest yoga tantra, where the teaching on clear light really becomes much more fully developed and explained. And as a preliminary to the highest yoga tantra, you have the preceding three classes of tantra, the Kriya, Charya, and Yoga. So in this way, one can understand that even in the first statement of the Buddha, immediately after his enlightenment, there is a kind of an anticipation of what was going to come in future, evolving into these three turnings of the wheel of Dharma. Now, of course, Buddha did end up teaching, and according to the scriptures, this was triggered by strong requests made from some of his attendants, such as Gaudinaya, as well as, according to the scriptures, including non-human figures like the Brahma and so on, who then made the request to the Buddha to teach. So the first public sermon that the Buddha gave was in Varanasi, in the Deer Park, and the subject matter of that teaching was the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truths, what we see in those Four Noble Truths, the suffering and its origin, and the cessation and the path leading to the cessation, what we see is in fact two sets of cause and effect. One set of cause and effect, which is the first two, suffering and its origin, really pertains to the cause and effect that are part of sentient beings taking birth in the cycle of existence. And then the next two form another cause and effect set, which is the cause and effect pertaining to the freedom from that existence. So you have really, one could say, afflicted cause and effect, and unafflicted, purified cause and effect process involved in this. So, and then the Four Noble Truths, when it's further explained, they're explained in terms of what are referred to as the 16 characteristics or attributes of the Four Noble Truths. Each truth are explained in terms of 4 aspects further and so on, such as the suffering's characteristics are, dissatisfaction, impermanent, no self, emptiness, and so on. So, and these teachings on the Four Noble Truths, including the 16 aspects.
미다동에 동담의 시체. 되네 군중 rap기 겐사디. 뭐버 군두나리야. 요아메베겐. 미다웨겐. 누베겐 겐숨송도와. 디수자나 야오쇼종게. 아니 교슬르자네. 아니 교미게미를 좀 말했어. 그 줄을 좀 말했어. 동해들다. 아니 요아메버스. 군주를 로이요 원도를 하는 좀 말했어. 요아메베겐. 근데 미다웨겐스. 다디 규진 거라 요도된 게 규진식으로 그러마도 줄은 요도야면 저 요도 요마르바스 사제데 인도산에 미다웨겐스 규디 거라 기지기식 직드하게 미다웨는 시치고 그랬어. 미다웨 임바상게 요마르스 뉴베겐스 데뷔 넘버 데뷔도 제스트 버지기 규칙 데뷔 동에 그런 시이나 나 아니 디기지 규칙이고 동에 중에 규칙 디기 중에 규칙 그런 데뷔다 거기에 다 가서래 데뷔 넘버 따고 제스트 버지 규칙 그랬어. 다 사변 사와래 데뷔 사변가와래 데뷔 나와서 송원한 시리 치준제이네 그런年龄 교디 그런 르츠버지 고도가 그 첼레로 그로만 라지 고도가 자 드린 인도산에 뉴베겐사 시작해 다디 요 근중rap기 숨부들잖아 대우실도 다데네 요 근중rap기 겐스잖아 다지 책이 아니 교진 셀렌도 샤샤다 독서기나 또 고아도 야도가 다데네 개제디 고고시고 있잖아 민중 사다들이 동해 규디 아니 녀부집에 또기 까네 다 되게다 녀부 또기 까베 차와지 레스 된제디 유기 마사만 왕게 마기바사 마이마 코라고 녀부집에 또기 고바 땡도 방셔지 디 차와디 동해 방배 차와지르잖아요. 10월이었어. 뭐냐 전에 태도인의 생을 시디하지. 고고 10월. 또 10월 뒤에 태세기 심 축대 봐. 10월서 많이 봐. 뭐냐 전에 그 야nom버스도 생을 회시시 동야도시다. 생을 뭐냐 시디려야지. 맞다. 그 시디 때도 어렵죠. 사들이 인도 고고 10월 야nom. 민중도 딘지들보다 고고에 연대디 다 년부 좀 가서 교 년부 좀네 애네 자와 토바 인도잖아요. 라 김르도 챤이 네번 좋아했어. 민중 다전에 대주지기다 람샤 인도잖아요. 간다디 대화도야 람치레스 대니 금전 담바도 양타고 르버 르게 영주 예배 온도 잖아 르버도 담바 영주 매베 쳐베이나 다 지금 르르이연데서 로는 지금 르베연데 되게 아니 다 고보시고 있잖아 람 르고 아니 람 르고 두어 그래서 그 코냠는지는 영어로 말도 다 같이 말하면 되니 차직의 지금 wishful thinking 소리 지금 제시에 용 말했어 꼭 라는게 준비된 그렇죠 그래서 아니 남르고 또 아니 방자 딴도 방행기 다 네버는 짐베 딴 네버여도 시레스 사실은 인도 메타소 주도되게 시부지도 와 섬이야 즉 가서 그게 도스마 야오 니리신도 삼담이나 다 산제기 댄시미 다소 주로 송셔버지 뭐냐 전에게 지금 누구이도 지르죠.
So, in fact, if you reflect upon what are the 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths, actually it gives you a powerful understanding of the importance of the Buddha's teaching on the Four Noble Truths. I spoke about how the four attributes of, or the four aspects of suffering are dissatisfaction, impermanence, no self, and emptiness. And then the four attributes of the origin of suffering are cause, condition, and recurrence, and then repeated arising. And here, one thing that would be helpful is to connect these attributes to the way in which Asanga explains about the origination of the whole conditioned world. Asanga talks about three conditions. One is that things and events do not come into being as a result of some kind of prior thinking or design of an intelligent mind. In other words, they do not come about due to a creation, a creature. Furthermore, he says that the causes themselves that give rise to the origination of things must be impermanent. Because if the causes themselves are not impermanent, then they wouldn't have any capacity to produce anything. Because if the causes themselves are not subject to change, how can they give rise to conditions that are also changing themselves? So the causes themselves must be impermanent. And furthermore, there must be some relationship between the causes and effects. Not everything produces anything. So it's not enough for a cause to be impermanent, but also then must be causes and effects must be commensurate. There needs to be a relationship. Not everything produces everything. So these are the four attributes of the origin of suffering. And then the four attributes of cessation are that one is that it is an attained state that is brought about through cessation by application of antidotes. And then the second attribute is that it is a state of peace, because once you've attained it, it's a true peace. And then the third is that it is an excellent state. And the final one is that it is a definite release, that it's not something that you temporarily stop, but then the afflictions come back again. So it's once you've attained the cessation, the afflictions have been brought to an end permanently. And then the four attributes of the path are that it is a part of the journey, that's what it's the means. And then the second is that the path themselves are grounded in reason, they are rational, they are reasonable. And then the third attribute is that it is something that is cultivated. In a path, it's not something that arises simply through a wishful thinking. It involves practice. So one of the attributes of the path is cultivation. And then the final aspect of the attribute of the path is that it is the real antidote that brings about end to the afflictions. So even by simple contemplation of these 16 attributes of the Four Noble Truths can really give a sense of the power of the teachings of the Four Noble Truths. So to continue with the translation, so the cessation, within the path itself that leads to true cessation, the heart of that path is the realization of the truth of no self. And how do we attain that is to recognize how the causes and conditions that lead to suffering are all rooted in a fundamental ignorance, which is a distorted state of mind. The fundamental ignorance misattributes true existence to phenomena. And when you subject that kind of ignorance to its antidote, you will come to realize that no matter how powerful our afflictions are, they are very powerful because of our habituation to them, but no matter how powerful they are, so long as they are rooted in some kind of distorted vision of reality, then they don't have any real ground that support them. So through application of their antidote, in principle, they are removable, because once you see the truth of no self, then the ignorance will be shown to be distorted, which then cannot support further arising of the afflictions. So it is through recognizing that the ignorance that supports all of these afflictions are really is distorted and fundamentally mistaken, one will then able to understand the no self. So when you think along these lines, you will really come to recognize that the teaching on the Four Noble Truths is really a powerful summation of all the teachings of the Buddha. It's like a kind of a framework. It's like a foundation of all the teachings of the Buddha. It's very, very comprehensive teaching.
Oh yeah. The Tenzin da Dami to be shirdi ko Nisha Shebar Bata. The Da Sheba Jig Gawaya Sangati, Zindan Gawaya. Sheba Jigi any no one Tajuan, Druyoris. The Dinded Zindang. Any Sheba Jigdi, no, the Druyo Maris and Zindang, Zindan Gawaris. 미국 찍으면 진짜 뭔가도 쉬고로 차죠. 진짜 인도고 나선의 시셔요. 다른 실록이 좋아. 저다 정문이 부디 다 장리 패나 애니 차례도 많이 함. 도신 윤기 좀 밑에야지. 참 좀 밑에야지. 또가. 다 나와도 못하고 나와 레즈미네 뭐 매우 잘 거야. 다한다 르 관계 진단 개로데 다음에 따와 깨만 타도 댄지메버도 저거 말이지 코 갈래 디 권배 숙도 샤 폐윤도 아니 댄징기 그르 숙고 아니 총로 돼야지 드리더라도가 저다 안당에 뒤셔야지 디 단 콜로 당보도 순살에 죽으되 아니 드셔서 다 신의 양 도난질래니 고된서야 돼 컨디션으로 람된서야 돼 컨디션으로 산데 고리그로 왔다 도난실리그로 다 도스레인드잖아 아니 좀 된대기 콜로 발바트 송리 자그 봉르리야 시징이 저거 송리 다 시징이 청고되기 den시 여야 den시 용초에다 주지 십처디 시징기 너나도가 또 동반이 있다. 다디 세슈디 고불루루기 강기 땡진 대바죠. 강기 가서 네 강기 땡진 대바죠. 통원대의 동해당 군주단은 고바당 람니타다 시베인스 람니타 통인스 자시로스다. 뒤에 버다. 그러다 시징이 중은 알로리아 아니 동배 남샤마 송네 땅 고다가 배나 시징 그는 시민구도 차셔는 속동보 동반이 소소 소를 동반이 시험이 동반이의 소시험이 사 되기 아니 돈이 시골사 송도가 세상 가는 돌아 다 근데 최신 속도 속 para 코르프게 랑문에 여대버지 가서 로로 셔기야리 코르 랑섬시 로로 셔기야리 이네 파도 디수기 아니 차셔리 디수기 이브리 디수기 인 카도레션도 파 차치베이나 베너섬잠베 지든 고버지 보는 시신도 차친 자요나 수니함도 봐 자상가 드리인도 수동보스 원 숙사드 매버레스로나 매버마레스 동반이 수소스 수 다른 자는 이주 매더가 되게 가르다 때문에 때는 따고 임버지 땡겨레스 든지인데 수 뭐니지 뭐주고 임버 코네 때는 따고 주임도 뭐니 주여나 부터벌리지 나서 오는 시에 뭐니지 주여나 때는 따고 지샤서 딱 때버렸다 사진이 인도산에 거기다 아니 수 동보 세야디 수 메스고 말해 수데 그게 된경원에 여버지 가서 넣는 게 어때 나와도 요 말이스 아니 수 동배 된지 때냈다고 시여 근데 인도 뭐니지 주변 동 인도 이다 다유 사도 태기요래 다유 태윤도 전에 아니 수기 입도 가도도 유대 gen디 삼월로 아니 그 대부지 샤도고 동거 띵중도 샤연데 다디 고물로 주고 사셔 나리야 댄신들은 중앙가 되는 동거니도 시 되는 때는 다고 돼 우면람이 있는데 더 송샤디 뭐냐 전에 그 타초 경쟁되면 더 송샤 들도 또 세상 당연데 아니 시징도 나 수는 남지 시체 람지체 제비체 참말로 민섬 다섬 전 송야코 다도 전에 이해하면 돼 봐. 다도 전에 이해하면 되고 뭐니지 못 줘. 그러다 매바이 뭐인 봐. 걔는 때네 여바다 털도나 대남 신대 남자 제배 남도 여바 뭐인신 달래 현도 주고 직전 작업관에 여바 인사도 들이 탈또 윤도 전에 간다 다도 전에 준이하면 돼 봐. 다 섬삼에 아니 지전 작업관에 여바도 샤모스베 그도를 된주케하는 바 인도 엔지 던지거나 과레스 다들 자는 많이 그도를 엔지 지정이 말했어요. 다 타자베 그지들이 우마베 다들 자는 이야야 말했어. 지든 다들 자는 이기면 너시 나 시바 거의 다들 자는 이야야 말했어. 이 매백에서 맞다스. 지고 때는 딱고 임버티 고용이요. 그래서 이제 인도 시징도 나로도 민섬 다섬 전에 송야디 엄청 쉽게 누가 안도 싫은 거 지기 쑥 동보 동이시 동보 니 숙소 그 때는 딱고 아니 민야 다유장 쑥이 여버시 어느 진행이 아니 나와 쑥 아니 동보 아니 쑥 주니 되니부터 아니 못 하자 그래서 말했어. 수도 동반이 시험이요. 동반이도 수시만이 넣었어요. 못지 그랬어. 아다 되게 대니도 숨고도가. 자 대니가 남샤 무직비 시행이요. 그래. 근데 장전부 시즌이는 남샤 샤니 아니 조다 아니 다시르기 기부도 단단된 봐. 현 상황으로 신유상연 나게다 그래서 이 숙소를 뒤리 아니 구조된 바신 대번 얘기 요시행도 그래서 대번 얘기 계시하고 하고 나는 미드부 요디 시행고 봐 그래서 간다 치질로 올로디 그게 인수하고 마시베 경기 요구여 인도산에 나는 미드부 요리스 그래서 애는 싸우시는 날이네 아니 산재 남지 최대 대번 얘기 양다대 신 송야다도 되지. 준주 날이네 다송도가. 사진에 인도산에 간다 대니기 남의 chen. 대니기 남의 미신은 아니 그냥 그 폭서칭 말했어. 저는 인루 시기 말했어. 저는 인루 동관이에서 럼니 하고 민성 다성 그 탄에 샤모도는 찾아 주더라. 배는 우마사와시로기 라진이슈 저시베 나려야 아니 뭐마에 탄예도랑서 미시베 우메다와데 차다와레스네 그냥 시부지 수주네 딜랜데리아 이는 공부를 주기 아니 동원이 그봐 그다음에 동원이 그 아니 동원이 그뭐 딜숨숨네 아니 랜중도 와 제가 어디서 제디 간다다 시진기 슝되기 아니 뭐된 동이 됐어 당 뭐된 동이 숨베 그도를 지금 수도 저러서 뒤지고 매매체 애는 간다 시든 남든 레뷰 남샤디디 최신의 수도 마송 진짜 인도 뭐든 동리 배등 건도 이르버디 송체 시우지르샤 할 레벨지르샤 저자다 신도적으로 있는 루루다 애는 도민이기 루루기 뭐든 동리를 뭐든 샌든세 마송 파고 도미 다只是全部我们名때네 아니 먼저 전기 배정 것도 이름 지도 송체 다 뒤도 대유도 전에 아니 동시 최생처럼 송체가 뒤디기 아주 더 상도 하다 람 고매야 뒤디 실험 재송은 남샤디 직송 그래서 다 아니 뭐든 동리기 다 대탐절로 명점 다섯마다 내가 뒤송체 어다 바로 스님의 청고 다섬섭의 초계잖아 바바츠님의 총고서 송샤 나가다 시진기兄弟 쉬우지 같이 버리셔. 땡시 내가 상관도 뒤편에 용돼야지. 동반이 있어야 돼. 땡중기 땡에다고. 그러다 땡중기 전도 시기에 있잖아요. 아니 그래서 안 되고 쉬어야지. 대지적으로 좀 어떤 동반이 되는 땡에다고 되는 유명한 것을 송샤. 어떤 측디 시간을 거쳐 버려. 단전에 마찬가지 아니 콜로스베 아니 그걸이야 엔 되기 쉬하게 시진기 뭐된기 아니 수는 남지 봐지 서로 명점 다섯 명이 써야지 자치 신발看了呢 지금 체다로 줘야게 내가 요den에 줘라 민이 그냥 좀 전에 런이기 아니 시진기 그걸이야 아니 최선제 아니 원이지 모두 써야 돼 아니 원이 미스 숨로 거네 원이 뭐 소인스 전에 좀 전에 랑게 가려야 좀 전에 랑게 양파 세드나야지 정도가 디드선 직세 다 드선 직디 되기 쉬하게 드시베 닝분도도 드선 직세 어디지 레샤 디시베 닝분도도 규디고디야도 스타 다가는 규디사지 화트가로 싸워져라 다 내가 간도와 다 봐도 심주잖아 루루 옆서서 디디기 변노 루루기 사원들의 르문자야래 아니 르문의 텐데 아련데 주주자야래 아니 선주 저주도 막 제네 아니 저주는 저봐 나와자베 아니 저 전세자야래 디도스만 공정도 상담이나 지금 상하 최고디디 뉴먼 현지집에 왜세 세야지 잔들전에 송샤디 그냥 서부 쉬우시도 와 하다 디도 공정이만 또 상담이나 아니 내는 유디시기 아니 템버 지진 대신지 도셔디 템버 지진 나 유디디 강사 거세르샤 점점되기 영자전에 소면 버체 아니 뒤서 투모임 붙은 这个 몰이야 아니经过 그 다군 나발을 샤네 송셔버지 이 강사 거세르샤 그다 사제의 인도 어다 간다 아니 템벌이야 지진다 아니 거세서 지기다 니 배지 차체나 넘어간다 그 소리한다 지그래한다 개버지리 공간도 된지 숨기 단예디 숨샤 템벌 지진 강사 거세서 내디 도스 파 고알란당데 상하고디 강사 거세서 도저디 강사 템벌 지진을 샤서 도시에디 디내가도 도스니 좀더 내게 아니 콜로를 무슨 송제 아니 산제베 추승이디 롭존셴니 신의 영하지 마도 좀 실신을 넣으셔베 다야메시 세우도가 디저버튼서 나를 세우셔요래 저버튼서 나로리야 아니 뭐도 진게 최주이지만 실론수 때문에도 좀 직도 되게 댄지도 되는 실론수 때문에도 줘야 다 되게 오는 취지전한 게 용로 당화 기술이 때문에 댄지가 주니 얘는 소도와 자자가 오는 취지전한 오늘 대배전하스 내는 유디 셔리기 오는 취지전한 게 담바 정도도 제가 이나 로자다 것이 되기다스 사제치 오늘 대배전한 게就是现了대배 지간 시베이나 다 담바데 그저 내로 예민이 셔도 가고래 무슨 상 종주로 김저 상서 던 거보다 지들이 다 겹시 도스간 시베이나 말도 더 거진 소리지 가비신 까나랑 세도 시베이나 애니 시라 요마를 썼다 좀 전에 가리니 루루야 세계 가리나스 좀 전에 얘기니 지금 독하셔 나로라 아니 지든 매 아니 시버된 주인 송셔도 저기 컨테이너스 상당 제행도 배야 오르셔 제야디 저서 산지에 출사디 지단의 산지에 출신에 나나 오늘 대배전장 윤구리디 싸야 산지에 출근 조단디 오늘 최지 전장 오는 지기다 상다다 냠니셔야지 그래도 그 여러 사회야래 저상 루루 옆서서 주체리 뭐냐 전에게 산지에 때 신대 선지시 세세거라 뭐냐 저기 배도 ngodo jirimba ngodo jende 하레버샤 땡거 당가도 마수윤도 주던 담바 남자는 산자로서 군쇼숨 마신 용수 명예다 시소마 수윤도 뭐네 시 담바니 코포 될 때네 동번이 그 되는데 땡중 되는 때는 용도 아니 때는 딱고도 때는 중 경제기 땡중 뒤들 내용도 아니 땡시디 따라 샤가죠 되네 땡시야고 지금 그게 로르야 샤윤도 오 최근조 고람 그 뒤에 최근조 성지 예설에 샤바지 전적이 고림 그래서 우리 고람 그 뒤에 최근조 규를 예定진짜들 뭐네 다 기부 다 차도 하고 저래샤 스파베긴 두사디 다 진짜도 영에 토마 등에 더 좀 된대리 아니 마원 담에봐 참발라나메봐 사디 이 시도하시도 와 산자로서 군족숨스 어디든 인도 상계 넘주디 셔디 냐마도 루지 아다 이게 담설어 아다 이게 되리 무슨 라우드 쇼리 나서 녀거를 저리 아니 산지가 치우 모두 인스 와고도 점점 셔셔 나서 신이 되는 마 셔셔 네 말이 생 네 너르스 나서 신이 되는 마 셔야지 너르다스 냐라 되니 되네 된시 되네 접숨 또 스토리스 엔디 쿵디 뭐도 쟁나 두던 때번 나오는 산지로서 군주수 마신 셔서 뒤송도 때 뭐도 쟁 거래 명리야 아니 시식이 망하서도 배 개심 버리셔 그러냐 지 조지여서 내 진짜 쉬거든 또 한번 잡으시면 줘 조지 이게 툴링리야 이게 폐체 아니 살아만 전주 아니 살아만 이슈 갈로제비 심제 샤 아니 그 최제수 걸로 여대에 그 뭐냐 전에 그 똑던 담바디 배다 동부차체 시부차체 아니 거기 최제 신주 대대하다 그래서 최제 권한에 배 세서 보시는 배 심수차 대배 그러다 아니 조지 전에 아니 최서서보다 자주 수 모스 아니 그 뒤뒤송나 시 아니 조지기 뒤 몰스니 아니 남전제체 뉴뉴가 침벌이 아니 그 조랑 그 송도가 예 그래서 천이 용도 시선 넘버만 세세정 지선 미시베 망배 소리 호물 넘버다 랑 더 통로 나와서 어디 내디 머심이 그래서 모서간에 되는 순부도 담바 기부순지 저거 기 가다면 세지 청와는 저한 장자 당연히 유수 숨을 땡데지 레디 아다디 애니 가당기 가당 슝보와 전에 슝추도 자네 애니 에다 계속니 계속이도 시간이 없게요 말 되지 또 로주 소리지 애니 나를 찾은 들 정도가 기로 좀 로드잖아요 인루 사버리 자연 그 말이야. 다전에 사견이 그로야고요래. 전주선배. 딱 선선배 따와 시샤전에 전주선배 제배 거지만 손도 그로야고도. 다디슈고데 랍주니. 랍두다. 아니 준주. 다디 아니 동이 따와 된가 내용도 와. 뭐냐 전에 식수도 와. 저상 가동 슝주 마소야 빼kä시 버리셔. 저런 식의 너무 전문들이 가담 흉주기 다 배지 가다 가서 우리 초차되기 그래 당도 좀 저런 식 빼를 송도가 너무 지금 디뉴 티로도 되지 당도 가서 사야 말이 아니 뉴뉴 저 로데기도 와 그래서 공부 뛰고지도 나올 송셔지 다 디베트 쉬우지다 산재비 취 냠니샤 다 드라마도 매버서 차이나 아니 산재비 취고 지 춘주시 차인 그래서 안에 듣으slăvi din nordas 저 들게서 내디 능주다 미소리아 산재베추 모주치야 모처니 냠는시야 럼림 도단디디 모처니 냠는시야 산재베추 모주치야 럼림 능데 말해 그러다 가당 슝주도 슝치모도 된 독시하고 하지 빼모습이 계속 버리셔
So I'll try to catch
too
this.
long.
So we spoke about the Four Noble Truths, and also we spoke about how the wisdom of no self is really the core of the path, and how the opposite of wisdom of no self, which is the fundamental ignorance, is a distorted state of mind. So if we compare the two, whether it is the grasping at true existence, which is the fundamental ignorance, or the wisdom, both of these are actually states of mind. These are actually mental phenomena. Both of them are, cognitive states. So, however, they oppose each other. And the way in which mental states oppose each other is by contradictory perspectives. Because the fundamental ignorance assumes things and events to have true existence, objective reality, whereas the wisdom of emptiness and no self really perceives everything not to have any objective existence or independent existence. So they are directly contrasting perspectives. So it is by recognizing that directly contrasting perspectives, we will also recognize how the wisdom of emptiness and no self can really have the power to eliminate the fundamental ignorance. And even in the material world, we see contradictory phenomena like heat and cold. And we know that heat and cold cannot endure together for long. So when the heat goes up, the cold goes down. When the cold goes up, the heat goes down. So we know that they don't stay together without interacting and countering each other. Similarly, we also know darkness and illumination, darkness and light. The moment light is switched on, the darkness disappears. So they don't exist, they cannot coexist. So they are contradictory phenomena in the material world as well. And similarly, in the mental world, there are contradictory mental states. But in the mental world, the difference is that the contradiction takes the form of contrasting perspectives. So that's the difference. But this is not to say that when you have an understanding of emptiness, then instantly the grasping disappears. But here it's a gradual process. Once you have an understanding, that understanding needs to be deepened, integrated, and then cultivated. Then gradually the intensity and the strength of the grasping will diminish. Eventually, then the grasping will be eliminated. So I think this is important to understand, that that's how how these things contradict each other. Now, we spoke about the three turnings of the wheel of Dharma, and also I pointed out how the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, which is the teaching on the perfection of wisdom and emptiness, is really the one that fully explains the Four Noble Truths, and particularly the truth of cessation and the truth of the path. Because after having listened to the Buddha's first public sermon, his disciples will come to have an understanding that there is such a thing as a possibility of true cessation and freedom, and there is a path. Then the question arises, what is that cessation? What is the nature of it? What is the path? What is the nature of that path? So to answer these fully, one really needs to understand the teachings on emptiness as presented in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. And for example, there, Nagarjuna, in explaining the essence of the teachings on emptiness, says that it is by understanding the dependent origination, the truth of dependent origination, one will appreciate the import of the teachings of the Four Noble Truths. And this he explains. And similarly, we find in, say, a typical example of a Perfection of Wisdom Sutra is the Heart Sutra, which people are familiar with. And in the Heart Sutra, we find this fourfold presentation on emptiness, that form is empty, and emptiness is form, and form is no other than emptiness, and emptiness is no other than form. So there's a fourfold presentation on emptiness. So the first point, in the first point, the Buddha is stating that the things that we assume to have objective existence, such as a form, if we subject that to a critical inquiry, we come to recognize the form is nothing other than a combination of its various parts. So its shape, its color, its location, the various parts that make up its existence and so on, once you mentally deconstruct what makes up what seems like a solid thing in front of you, you come to recognize that nothing stands there as the true reference to which you can point and say, this is it.
그래서 죽이 지저고 하나 사디 처르 뒤저 죽도 주사디 니슈버래 순주버래 니슈버래
So therefore Buddha says that the form is empty. So that's the first a part of the fourfold formula. And then the question arises, does that mean nothing exists? Does that mean there's nothing there? Then the second presentation is made, which is that emptiness is form. So in other words, Buddha is saying that it's not that nothing exists, but things don't exist in the way in which we tend to assume they do. They don't exist as they appear to us. So therefore, the second part of the fourfold presentation explains that form do exist, but only as designations by our convention on the basis of things that we perceive. So
therefore,
the
quantum physics did hold the tom desha. Pene yugudu maybe this touch. Ta now that to me the quantum physics time touch go. That the observer kind of chimbrace. The observer question shadow channel.
So
자장가 그게 샘잠에 치든 등급시 샤체니 아니 명상 치든 샤모도 그것도 치든 가인 거 알바 아더 퀀텀 피지스 따라르샤고 명상 탄야상 치든 샤모도 그것도 치든 요마르샤디가 리역.
So in fact, as far as the first part of that fourfold formula is concerned, this is what quantum physics have also discovered. As they go deeper into their understanding of what makes up physical world, they don't find anything. So they have come to realize that there is nothing that supports the objective reality of the material world that we assume. But the difference is that quantum physics seems to have been stuck there. Therefore they reject any notion of objective existence. So therefore they actually reject external reality. So they say it's all from the perspective of the observer. But then the question is, what is that observer? There is no real answer. So in some sense, what the quantum physics have come to is very similar to what the mind-only school, Chittamatra school in Buddhism has also come to. And the assumption behind all of this is that if something exists, it should be findable. Truly, if something truly exists, it should be findable. Therefore, as they subject these things to inquiry and they don't find anything, then they assume that it does not exist. So this is why in the mind-only school, external reality is rejected as well. So the second part of the presentation says that it's not that nothing exists, things exist only as designations based on the combination of various things to which we attribute their existence. And then the next two part of the fourfold formula explains that the form and the emptiness are no two separate things. They share the same identity. There's nothing apart from the form that is empty, and emptiness is also not something extraneous, something that is outside, extraneous to the form to which we attribute.
동번이슬람이 최선의 말을 동번이 연가가 제야 말봐. 동번이 사고를 최선식 그 인루디 견상을 떠마도 코란 거 주모도 버다디 디춘이 쓰려래. 춘이 가리네 그 시직을 떠니 나도 요말봐. 사실은 인도 어떻게 대니 그래 대니 숨주시 가지고 그래.
So the point the Buddha is making is that even emptiness is something that is contingent upon a thing that we attribute emptiness to. You cannot have a notion of an emptiness that is somehow existing on its own. So emptiness does not have, again, an objective existence. So form and emptiness are, in some sense, the same thing. They are not two separate things somehow entering into a relationship. So that point is being made in the final two parts of the formula. So once we understand this, then we come to recognize the point that the Nagarjuna is making, which is that the mind-only school rejects external reality, but then they ended up according objective or intrinsic reality to the mental world. So what Nagarjuna is saying is that just as the external world of matter cannot be found when you're subject to analysis, in the same way, if you apply the same reasoning, that also applies to the mental world as well. Our subjective world of experiences also, if you subject them, if you analyze them, they cannot be found as well. So you cannot accord a hierarchy of existence to the matter and mind. They are, both devoid of intrinsic existence, but they do both exist on the basis of designation and causes and conditions. So they have dependent origination, but they don't have intrinsic existence. So this is a point Buddhapalita also brings up very powerfully. He says that the only way in which we can understand the existence of things is only in terms of dependent designation. And therefore, if things possess intrinsic existence, what is the point of even teaching the dependent origination? Because they would have their own objective intrinsic existence by themselves. You don't need to attribute any notion of dependence on them. So these and then therefore Nagarjuna explains similarly in a fundamental treatise on the middle way, he says that that which is dependently originated has been taught by the Buddha to be empty, and therefore they are dependently designated, and this is the true middle way. So here what we see is an equation between dependent origination, emptiness, dependent designation, and the middle way. And therefore, in the sutras themselves, Buddha often talks about mere words, mere names, and mere designation, mingzam datsam. And this is an important point because, what it is pointing out is that it's not that nothing exists, but their existence can only be understood in terms of designations and in terms of their, words and names and so on. And this is also, elaborated further in Chandrakirti's Entering the Middle Way, where he presents the reasoning for understanding no self by means of sevenfold analysis of identity, difference, shapes, collection, combinations, and so on. And there, at the end of that analysis, when something like person or a carriage is nowhere to be found, then Chandrakirti goes on to say, therefore, their existence can only be understood on the level of designation by convention and so on. And this is in this way, Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, and Buddhapalita really unpack the Buddha's phrase, mere words, mere designations, and explain them in terms of the understanding of dependent origination. So I think if you understand this, then you will clearly appreciate the importance of the teachings on two truths. So what we are talking about here is the two levels of reality. One is the ultimate level of reality, which is the emptiness, where nothing can be found. But there is also another level of reality, which is the conventional relative level on which causes and effects and everything function. And this ability to distinguish between two levels of reality and two truths and understanding existence in terms of these two becomes very important. Generally, the basic idea of two truths is not just unique to Buddhism. We also see that in other ancient Indian tradition. For example, in Samkhya philosophy, which is an older philosophy, a distinction, there is a taxonomy of reality of 25 basic units of reality, within which the two, prakrit, which is the nature, and purusha, which is the self, these two are understood to be ultimately real, and all the remaining 23 factors of existence are understood to be manifestations coming out of it. So there is a notion of two levels of reality, even in non-Buddhist philosophy. However, in Buddhism, two truths is explained in terms of the emptiness and the conventional reality. Therefore, Nagarjuna says that all the teachings of the Buddha have been really presented from the point of view of the true truths. And he who does not understand the true truths cannot understand the essence of the Buddha's intention of the Buddha's teaching. So we also see similar statements in Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avatara. And similarly, in Nagarjuna's text particularly, Nagarjuna really responds to Buddhist realists who couldn't understand the teaching on emptiness, and then critiqued the Madhyamaka school to falling into nihilism. Because emptiness suggests nothing exists. If nothing exists, these consequences will follow. And Nagarjuna responds to this by saying that those who raise objections to the teaching on emptiness for being nihilistic are doing so because they haven't fully understood the purpose of the teaching on emptiness, and what is the meaning of emptiness, and what is the nature of emptiness. So he responds by explaining each of these three. So it is by understanding these larger context and also the relationship between the Four Noble Truths and the True Truths, and particularly as explained by masters like Nagarjuna and Chantakirti and so on, we will really appreciate the larger teachings, the bigger picture of the Buddha's teaching. So, and also the importance of the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, and particularly the perfection of wisdom scriptures, the Prajnaparamita Sutras. And the Prajnaparamita Sutras, traditionally a distinction is drawn between the explicit subject matter, which is emptiness, that is presented and systematically presented by Nagarjuna, and also the implicit subject matter of these perfection of wisdom scriptures. And the implicit subject matter relates to the stages of the path and that one cultivates. And that particular aspects of the subject matter is taught and developed more explicitly and comprehensively in Asanga's writing, inspired by Maitreya, and most important text belonging to that genre of literature is really the ornament of clear realization, ornament of realizations, Abhisamaya Alamkara. And in Abhisamaya Alamkara, the stages of the path are explained very clearly, and also in the sequence where one starts with understanding the nature of the true truths first. And then based on that understanding, then the four truths are explained. And once you have a deeper understanding of the four truths, and particularly cessation and path, then you can also begin to have understanding of what the three jewels are. How can they be a dharma? And how can they be sanghas that embody that? And how can there be a Buddha who has fully accomplished the dharma? So in this way, in Abhisama Alamkara, this text, clear explanations are given. So this reminds me of, then there is a third turning of the wheel of Dharma, where there are two categories of sutras belonging to that. One category of sutra belonging to the third turning has to do with Buddha making a concession to his followers who may not be ready yet to receive the radical teaching of emptiness as presented in the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, where the notion of objective intrinsic existence is denied across the board, in relation to the entire phenomena. So for some of the disciples who are not ready to be receptive to such teaching, Buddha explained the teaching on emptiness contextually in terms of differentiating between three categories of phenomena: the dependent phenomena of conditioned world, and then the imputed phenomena, the attributes that we impose on reality, the imputed phenomena, and then the perfected phenomena. And he explained the emptiness in terms of what is known as the three types of absence of identity or identitylessness. So this is essentially the main sutra that is the basis for the emergence of the mind-only school. And then the second category of the third turning as the Buddha nature teachings, which I already touched upon. So it is by understanding this larger picture then we can really appreciate the depth of the Buddha's teaching and Buddhism. It reminds me once I was in Dharamsala, invited to a school, a local school, a nearby Dharamsala, and they had staged an exhibition, supposedly Introduction to Buddhism. And the exhibition involved, starting right from the beginning, the Guru devotion practice. And I told them, this is wrong. I said, if you're going to present an introduction to Buddhism, you can't start with the relationship with the Guru. You have to start by presenting the two true truths, and then the Four Noble Truths, and so on. And I can understand why.
Guru devotion, and Guru
And part of the problem with the Guru devotion, emphasizing it too much, is that the Gurus get spoiled. So I told them that this is incorrect. If you are going to do an introduction to Buddhism, you have to start from the two truths and the Four Noble Truths and so on. But I can understand where they were coming from. They were probably basing their understanding based on the Lamrim teachings, stages of the path literature, which begins with the relationship with the Guru. And Lamrim texts are inspired by an important seminal work written by Atisha, Master Atisha, and I don't mean disrespect to him, but the Bodhipada Paradipa, lamp on the path to enlightenment. And if you look at the origin of that text, in the colophon itself, it says that the Kuge kingdom, the Kuge ruler at the time, Chanju, when Atisha arrived in Western Tibet, requested for a teaching. Now, you have to understand the historical context. Tibet used to be a great empire, a large nation, which then became splintered into different smaller kingdoms.
Lama Simshum, and me.
So we have to remember the historical context in which that particular text was written and taught. Here we are talking about early 11th century. By that time, the great empire of Tibet has become splintered into smaller kingdoms. We are now in Western Tibet. It's a very small kingdom, where the rulers of those kingdoms are already feeling pretty discouraged and demoralized because they are shrunk. And so when the request was made for a teaching, Changju asked Atisha, says, I don't want you to teach something that is profound and extensive. I want you to teach something that is very simple and easily practicable. So that was the request made. And now compare that to the three stages of meditation, the three books of the stages of meditation, Paavana Krama, which was
8th century.
Written in the 8th century by Kamalashila at the request of the then Tibetan emperor, a unified empire, Emperor Tizong Dezen. And if you look at the Paavana Krama, the text is very grand, it's very comprehensive in its approach and perspective.
So according Chinese history book, there was 7th century, 8th century, 9th century. At that time, there were three empires: Chinese Empire, Mongol Empire, Tibetan Empire. Very powerful. So then, later part of 9th century, then collapsed that. So then Atisha, the invitation sent by Tibetan small kingdom in the western part of Tibet.
So this was the request made, and Atisha actually wrote that text for that particular audience, for that particular request. So His Holiness was saying that here is a situation where both the ruler who is requesting for the text and the master who's writing the text were both playing it very safe and very humble at the time. So, but the point is that Lamrim cannot be assumed to be the introduction to Buddhadharma. Lamrim presupposes that you already have an introduction. So if you are really cultivating the knowledge and you really want an introduction to Dharma, then you have to first begin by understanding the two truths, Four Noble Truths and so on, then Lamrim can be used as a practice, a practical manual based upon that. That I think is an important point that has to be understood. And even within Lamrim, there are in the Kadampa tradition a particular lineage of Lamrim known as the Lamrim Shungpawa, the Lamrim of the treatises, Lamrim lineage of the treatises. And in that particular tradition coming from Potoa, they emphasize the study and practice of 6 texts, Jataka Mala, the Jataka Tales, and Udana Varga, which is a collection of sayings by the Buddha. So these 2 texts are not that profound, not that extensive. And then you have Bodhisattva Bhumi and Mahayana Sutra Alamkara. So those 2 texts present the stages of the path in quite an extensive way. And then the final 2 texts are by Shantideva, Bodhicharya Avatara, entering the Bodhisattva way, and Shiksha Samuchaya, Compendium of Training. And both of these texts take the teaching on emptiness and present it quite extensively. So, for example, if you look at Tsongkhapa's a great treatise, Lamrim Chemo, great treatise on the stages of the path, he's following that lineage of Lamrim, which emphasizes the study of the treatises. And particularly if you look at the insight section of the great treatise on the text on emptiness, you can see that how extensive it is. So one should not assume that all Lamrim texts really follow that very limited kind of instructional model. You can also emphasize the study of the treatises as well.
Oh yeah. This one.
Sorry. So to sum up, His Holiness was saying that one thing that becomes very clear is that although for the followers of Dharma, one can approach the Dharma, and the tradition recognizes this from the path of approach of faith and devotion, but that is not really the ideal practitioner of Dharma. The ideal practitioner of Dharma is the one who approaches the Dharma from the approach of the intelligent one, by emphasizing understanding the nature of reality. And this is an important point that is made in the Buddhist texts. And I often tell people that now, in our day and age, we should really emphasize the approach of the intelligent practitioner, which is the emphasis on investigation, reasoning, and understanding. Because if we rely too much on the approach of the faith and devotion, it is doubtful whether the Buddhadharma can last for long in this day and age. But if we emphasize the approach of the intelligent, using investigation and reasoning and understanding, then there is a real chance that the Buddhadharma will last for a long time.
Yeah. That's the that is true to all Jenny. Yamlin Shay Zane, any Gomulu Rigitanala, the Yutan Jidindi, Lamin Chanju Tom, the Tesa or Chanjusan, Rwanja would Tartera, Shode to be Nijida, Nilamiti Shilas. Jenny, or the Niji Chambo, Te Chambe, Chanjusan, any Tuni Tawa, Disumbutita, Yamling Til Chore Suntua. That so Lalin can use an Shipjebenala, son of member Tambondo, Pardo Dan and Doborsi, Tamatashi Gundawa, Tamatashi Gundawa, Tishitani Cabains, Shipjebenal, Tisundua. Chazanga, Daniela, Manzo, Tony Tawa, the Chanju Senda, Nijibudi, Yamni Chabala, Ludindi, me Ludinji Mana, some down to Amdua, under the Loyag. Ribeshu, Shabachiguzane. Me 남주 영의 지금도 삼다도 야말. 자, 진짜 인도산에 밀루토고도와 대양 우머 리지터나 고물루기. 리지터나라 당불 넘버터에 치는 내벌 내건 중사다 되어. 저선 그냥 모두 주야기 주소지 중국으로. 자, 진짜 인도티 순한 멤버 당불 넣었어. 년도를 기야기 주 순한 모임배 레디 당불 넣고 그랬어. 순한 모임배 레 독섭대 아니 Modu Juve, Jujusa, Umorjitana. 미기 주분 것처럼 시세체 대강이야 창미동아 아니 로스미 시바 되네 차와서 다시 유주치야서로 직지시야서 뜻을 되네 이니 그베 짐바 밀리아 짐베 짐바 동안도 시주전에 배 그베 chen 지고 그랬어 그베 짐바 되네 쳐요 쳐봐 되네 이니 잡아고 봐 와다 뒤주루디 응원들도 주주루 송도 와 우머지 차나 와다시니 순남면 당분 둬야 돼 바로 다는 도버시스들이 동이 다 왔거니 등신 둬야 돼 봐. 응원들도 주주루디 냠내전이 응원들도 토트야 시 다 응원들도 토베 타네 바로 아니 시보 코알 코야기 교 머리고 뽕약 제도 담에 둬야 돼 담에 고면 돼 탐을 다시 꾸는다고 사야되기 아니 민족 방제 민족 인연부디 동리가 따와 되기 민족봉 두고 네 유른도 관배 타네 봉투 냐라 자주배 동리가 따와 건니 아니 자주먹고만 터버려 다 시주 인연부 제발이야 동리가 따와 지분 미쳐봐 아니 초 야침부 갑된 여버지기 너무 총대기 동반이 있어야 돼 공부요. 아니 당분에 돈이 거be 그도로 시적 인연부 저번 이견연부 시적 인연부로 삼니 돈이 겁나 그거 용서 저거 주기 돈이 공부하셔야 되죠. 어디 전에 타면 다시 끊다 와서야 되겠다. 시적 인연부로 줘야기 돈이 다 거면이야 더 자식을 생각도 봐. 다소 창조고 생각요. 다 창조고 생기 다 니리신 다 창조고 생각 명령 장야리야. 균제명은 두메 타네 로자야지. 디 서부여르디 이네 딜레 당신이 주고는 올라줘야지 싫어 서버리. 자空디 린지 정화체. 공물로 린지 정화체. 청주 섬지체. 디니 자의空지체. 되네마 이는 당신냠지 새도 되는 순간이 10월에 준주르샤. 와다 디니 타네. 아니 당신이 주고는 올라줘야 다 디시라 너버체리. 독식곰 다 되게 타면 다시 군도 봐서야지 죽고요. 그래서 다 들이한데 대 전주고 선거다 비치. 예, 랑다스기도 마셔야지.
So this constitutes a brief introduction to the overall presentation of the Buddhist path. And then the question is, how do we put them together and apply it in terms of actual practice? So that question is answered by Nagarjuna in his precious garland, Ratnavali, where he identifies three main elements of practice. One is cultivating universal compassion. Second is cultivating bodhicitta, the altruistic aspiration to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. And third is cultivating the wisdom of emptiness. So universal compassion, bodhicitta, and emptiness. So now, how do we, then what is the sequence in which we need to cultivate the path? You know, here there is a passage in Aryadeva's 400 stanzas where he explains the following. He says that first, what is non-virtuous must be averted. And in the middle, the self must be negated. And finally, all distorted views must be eliminated. He who understands that sequence is a wise person. So what exactly constitutes averting the non-virtuous activities? Here, Nagarjuna explains that it, in terms of the two aspirations, objects of aspiration of a Dharma practitioner, one is the temporary aspiration, object of aspiration, which is the attainment of fortunate rebirth, because as we recognize that if we are taking seriously the Buddhist path to enlightenment, it requires a huge amount of application of our human mind in investigation, understanding, reasoning, and so on. So it presupposes a kind of a cognitive ability that humans possess and other species don't. So having a bodily existence that has the capacity to practice Dharma becomes important. So therefore, the temporary aim of a Dharma practitioner is to really seek the means that would ensure one would have a fortunate birth, a rebirth. What then are the means that would allow us, what are the causes and conditions that would give us, assure us that there will be a fortunate birth? And here Nagarjuna identifies 16 factors. And these are the 10 elements of the basic morality, which everybody is familiar with. These are abstaining from the negative actions of body, speech, and mind, which are altogether 10. And in addition to these 10 basic precepts of morality, Nagarjuna adds
Changbo.
Avoiding taking intoxicant, and then the next is avoiding wrong means of livelihood, and then the next one is avoiding engaging in deceitful activities, and then after that engaging in acts of charity and giving, but out of respect, not so when you engage in generous activity, you have to respect the recipient and in that act, and then after that paying respect to those who are worthy of your respect, and then finally cultivating loving kindness. So these are the 16 factors he emphasized that would ensure that we will have a fortunate birth. Now, the main method for eliminating self is the meditation on emptiness and the meditation on no self. And so this is the teaching from the second turning of the wheel of Dharma one needs to cultivate. And then the final stage, which is the overcoming and elimination of all views, really emphasizes that one's understanding of emptiness must be complemented with skillful means, the method aspect of the path, such as bodhicitta. And here, the main point is that in order for the wisdom of emptiness to become an antidote against not just afflictions, but also subtle obscuration to knowledge, which obstruct one from attaining Buddhahood, the realization of emptiness must be complemented with all the method aspects of the path, especially bodhicitta. And in this way, one will be able to finally overcome all the views. And then as for the cultivation of bodhicitta, traditionally there are two main techniques or methods. One is the 7-point cause and effect approach, which is quite a powerful technique. But the more effective and more powerful one is Shantideva's exchange and equalizing and exchanging of self and others, which has its root actually in Nagarjuna's Ratnavali, as well as also in Nagarjuna's commentary on the Bodhicitta. So in these texts, but more fully developed and explained in Shantideva's Entering the Bodhisattva's Way. In the Bodhisattva's Way, Shantideva really explains in great detail that technique, that method of cultivating bodhicitta based on equalizing and exchanging of self and others.
Oh, yeah.
So here, today we will be presenting, I'll be briefly teaching a text which really is a text on cultivating bodhicitta.
Oh, yeah. Tajani, Choji, Lama, Kadam Shumbo, any Sharawe Lama. Mare, Langshani, Podo Lama, Langshani, Langri Thangpa, Sharawa. So that Langri Thangpa digging Zashabade, the Langdang Sijis.
So the text belongs to the lineage of coming from Potowa, which is the lineage that emphasizes the study and practice of the treatises, Kadam Shungbawa. And among Potowa's disciples, there were two principal ones, Langtangpa and Sharawa. And author of this text is Langtangpa, who was a student of Potowa. So as I explained before, that I had the privilege to memorize this text when I was very young, and ever since I recite this daily.
Ahoy. Da dan simja tamja le yishin no le la go tenjo zhube samba yi dao de jebe zhen shuo shen. Da nange tai du be simja qi su zhao di di ha zu xi kwa le qian be ne go le da gang da ji 갈부 시 갈부 계획 지수제 시스템전을 되는 연구도 와 소주 보안에 소주 뒤에 상황을 시스템전을 되는 연구도 와 아니 난게 태도 심절을 미니 전부 유선식 공부이니 손은 빠져서 쓰고도 와 제가상가 시 내고 가서 계속 줘야 되게 간다 자 유심전을 때네 개월 럽치 못 사줘야지 연구도 와 다전에 람러 레베 그돌라 아니 지기 간다 남진 되니 그로 뒤에 아니 랑게니 지 고된 톰네 방저 방법 정기 미쳐와 현대 주투야 지기 다 심슈시게 대체도 난가 태도가 심지 감도 매바 나서 예바 인도잖아요 뒤에 되기 다 감도 매바도 삼바지기 최 땜발라 라 아니 내가 소소 뒤에 감도 매바 뒤에 라로 꼬도 뭐 주고 그러고 근데 인도 진입부터 왜 남긴데면은 용도 전에도 와 다 진입부터 왜 남긴 뒤에 남긴 뒤 영어라야 지도를 냠바 샤시베 간에 아니 진입에 최 식도버지 중나 아니 그 가서 그게 턱에 매가지고 용도야지도 와 지시 가다 남긴 마토 발이야 동리는 냠바샤네 돈이 무슨 또왜 냠샤 그돌라 제대로 냠네 제대로 민도가 그래서 인도 산에다 간다 샹드 배 다쳐부 정말라 남제 마토바 터민도 삼바지 로라 샤타시도가 도스에다 남진 되니 로야디 미국 심전을 믿네 안다 퍼징 저가지나리 디어리 갸나이나 지금 나로리야 아니 창조 심스다리 닝지 심전을 믿 시르고 창조를 믿어야지 뜻들다 창조기 심스다리 간다이네 창조를 믿으잖아요 창조고 고바 컨디션버지디 고아 찾아할래 심을때 초월로 예대버지 도안에 창조된 이걸로 연구를 봐 사진이 인도 간다다 창조고 심을 생에디 조심전 코네 되는 때네 연구도가 아니 진배 버진 수중 버진스로도 현실도 저거 도야 나 되게 간다베 고속분 예바 차라 상어 dom야기 디디 간다이니 현던 제니 용되게 도와 그래서 진배 버진 수중 버진 세배 버진 아니 세배 버진들은 학과도 수소에 녀로송에 자디 백 진심부터 이 준준한 소야들이 자오디 개신 있는 시리스 자올이야 때는 서버거야 연구리스 서버거야기 매너민 중에 준제긴 저와 여도버디 제 녀로 소야들이 제 녀로 소야들은 코로나가 시코야 말이 코로나야 매지이나 아니 서버 용말이스 송도 뭐는 템버다 사진이 인도산에다 나시시베 심전 삼월로 뭐는 다는 랑게 년도 때 드르지기다 라다 로지 전에 딱 알아야니 진보 수준 서버 준주 3대 시로 다 3대 시로 사드르제 아니 실라 송지기 띵인지 남진 규르를 자주고 심지스면 전 도로 받아 저들이 인도 일단은 생기 단디샤 들이 인도 다 간다니 시다 남던 제비 배 상부치 아주 전도녀야 상부치디 참말로 저 심정을 드는 연구도 저들이 인도 나는 심정 상실을 20노를 날하고 전저 주변 상바에 따도 집은 좀 쇼스
So the first stanza reads With the determination to achieve the highest aim for the benefit of all beings, which surpasses even the wish-fulfilling gem, may I hold them dear at all times. In this first stanza, the author is really reminding us that in fact, if you contemplate deeply, our dependence on others and our indebtedness to others is really profound. Right from the very beginning, even when we are accumulating good karma accumulation involves cultivating virtue and engaging in virtuous activity. Even those basic morality can only arise on the basis of our relationship with others. Similarly, when we meditate on loving kindness, which in the Buddha's scriptures described as a source of tremendous accumulation of merit, the loving kindness can only be practiced in relation to other sentient beings, taking someone, the image of someone into the practice, and you can cultivate it. And on the path as well, if you think about the first stage, which is the cultivation of bodhicitta, the bodhicitta can only be cultivated by taking seriously the welfare of other sentient beings, because bodhicitta is the altruistic mind that aspires to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings, and without taking into account the welfare of other sentient beings, there is no possibility of even cultivating bodhicitta. So whether on an ordinary state, everyday life, or even on the path, our dependence on others is really profound. And also, if we think about more specific practices, such as the 6 perfections, a practice of generosity, the perfection of generosity, perfection of morality, perfection of forbearance. In all of these practices, without others, there is no basis for practice. And particularly in relation to the perfection of forbearance or patience, in Shantideva's text, entering the Bodhisattva's way, he explains how, first of all, how dependent we are on others for our practice of the path, and particularly in relation to forbearance, our enemy becomes so important, because it's the problems caused by someone that we don't like, someone who causes a problem, so-called enemy, who gives us the rare opportunity to cultivate forbearance. So the perfection of forbearance can only be effected if we have those kind of opportunities. So in fact, he argues that one's enemies for a practitioner should be really viewed as true teachers. They are the ones who allow us and give us the opportunity to practice. So the same is true of other practices of the perfections, and including concentration and wisdom, which may not seem immediately related to others, but in order for these perfections to become a cause condition for attaining Buddhahood, they need to be complemented by the factor of bodhicitta. So which means that on the path, the success and practice of all dependent upon our relationship to others. So here, the author is reminding us in our indebtedness to other sentient beings. So therefore, our attitude towards them should be that of recognition of their kindness, so that we value them rather than see them in terms of enmity. So that's the first point he's making about the importance of cultivating an attitude and perception of others where we value their presence and existence.
Tene gandu sudan zhowe se teni kunle menda shi. Shana sambo tawe chodo jebo zibo shos. Sudan zhowe yine susu ngage chen. Chik ngaji goro yin sam mil tungjung she. Manjo shen dik ma res. Right. Daya teni kunle menda shi be sim shung ne. Da ngada kage yung ma re samlan chenju simbe yene 가서 그게 torture 뽑아 거래. 그래서 뽑아 전에 시행을 계속 통증을等于滚来满大些啥的过来，白羊多，싫어 그 저도 전에 뽑아 요체. 이니 이제 난게 대도 왜 심전은 배 내거로 저도 강글로 이니 진심이 임듯이 300톤에 그래서 member daji. Kanto Sudan Joe, the Nigun Mendashin, Shana, somewhat away, Chodo Jevon Zimbo shows.
So the second verse reads, whenever I interact with someone, may I view myself as the lowest among all, and from the very depths of my heart, respectfully hold others as superior. So the point the author is making here is that it is important when we interact with others and when we relate to others, we do not do so out of a place of arrogance and sense of self-importance, thinking that I'm the greatest, I'm the best. One should relate to others with a feeling of humility, but at the same time, this phrase, this word, that I'm lowest among all, should not be misunderstood as suggesting that you should feel yourself very discouraged and demoralized, thinking, I'm nothing, I cannot do anything. So that's not the point. The point is, it is important to, the fact that you are someone who is aspiring to practice bodhicitta already indicates that you have a strong sense of confidence. You want to do something. So you need confidence, but not arrogance and a sense of self-importance. But confidence will be grounded in wisdom. So with wisdom, you have a confidence, but you interact and your behavior and attitude towards others should reflect that humility and respect for others. So it's a wonderful balance that with wisdom, confidence arises, but in terms of your attitude and behavior, you display a manner of humility.
Oh yeah. Jalam Gundu Ranjo, Dongsi Yumu Yamata, Dashan Maru Cheven, Zendo Donan Double Shows. Not the Ring Yamnichi, Parjedi, Yumuchidua, no Yaben Majesty. Majena Didia, no Yabalotia, the Soso Shuchi in Sabelo, Manzibelo, lived. Chazanga, Tuni Joyari. That Shirugita, Samuel Lamjibati. Nyomong Zawl Nyabucha. Bena Shirang Nyambola Chabokomia. Any Desha Nyambola Midukomia. Any Majeg Nyambolia Chiki, Shishanam Dam and Mugusam Dana, Majesha, the Yugudua, the any Sunjibe Yambusa, Chassi, Nyomushu Chuntanchi. Boy Nyambusadi, Nyomoji Samolo, Tautu Tawat and Jerry Indu. 다음에 뱉다가 되게 뻔히 붙인다리. 와다 가다 순집이 님보다 아니 뻔히 님보다 공고그레스. 전도 돈은 더 shows.
So in the third stanza we read, in all my deeds may I probe into my mind, and as soon as mental and emotional afflictions arise, as they endanger myself and others, may I strongly confront them and avert them. So the author is making the point that as we engage in the practice of cultivating bodhicitta, and that we are bound to confront with obstacles. And these obstacles generally are the afflictions that arises in us. And particularly afflictions that are, that take the form of thinking that I'm the best, I'm important, and so on, which are manifestations of, pride and conceit, all of which have their root in grasping at inherent existence of a self, as we discussed before. So one needs to counter them. And when we talk about countering these afflictions, we need to apply antidotes. And there are two types of antidotes. One is a more temporary antidotes that kind of bring about the temporary suppression of them. And one is the lasting antidote which will actually help us eliminate them. So in terms of immediate temporary antidotes, there are specific types of practice in relation to specific forms of afflictions. For example, to counter the affliction of anger and hatred, loving kindness is the recommended practice. To counter lust and greed and so on, then there are specific forms of practice. For example, for the monastics, the meditating on the impurity of the body and so on. And to counter arrogance and conceit, then reflecting upon the enumerations of list of dharma is also recommended as a way of, sort of toning down your arrogance. So these are specific, immediate antidotes, but the long-term antidote really is the main antidote is the meditation on emptiness. So one needs to apply these antidotes while you are practicing. So again here, the importance of wisdom of emptiness immediately becomes apparent. So then the next stanza, the fourth one, reads, when I see beings of unpleasant character oppressed by a strong negativity and suffering, may I hold them dear, for they are rare to find, as if I have discovered a jewel treasure. So again, for such a practitioner, when you interact with the people, if you find people with these kind of situations or conditions, one should not shun them. One should not, immediately relate to them in an aversive manner or finding them disgusting or so on. But rather, one should really, recognize as if you have found a new treasure, because they, give you the opportunity to truly test your practice. So this is important.
Dalai shenji chado shigulo so meribe kyonga rangele ba gyaga shana bewo shos. Deshin do kana tage pen tago rawa shawo kanshi shindu meri neshina shenji tambar tawa shos.
So in the next two stanzas we read, when others out of jealousy treat me wrongly with abuse, slander and scorn, may I take upon myself the defeat and offer to others the victory. And here, this echoes a passage from Nagarjuna's Precious Garland, where Nagarjuna talks about, he says that may all the effects of my virtue ripen upon others, and may the effects of other people's non-virtue, other sentient beings, may the effects of other sentient beings, negative karma ripen upon me. So this is indicating that same line of thinking. And the next stanza reads, when someone whom I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me in extremely hurtful ways, may I regard him still as my precious teacher.
Oh yeah. Donangodo kiwi pende manam kunambu, my nodo dungo $7 lamber show. $7 lamber sadi, Tony Lulu Jumper Chas, Satatiri, U Dong Tony. U Tsungu du Shenji Dunge Sula, Upa Tambe Kudula, Rank Tekishala Taya, or the Negita, as a Nagita, Lunginam de Joy to Hinduzane, Yana, Chichunsu Omutu, the Negita, Yan, Kasuri, Dashinyamji Lord Jaya, Kawi Hinduzane, the Negitone, $7 lamber shows at the song.
So the next stanza reads, in brief, may I offer benefit and joy to all my mothers, both directly and indirectly. May I secretly take upon myself, it's translated as quietly here, may I secretly take upon myself all hurts and pains of my mothers. So this really explains the practice of Tonglen, giving and receiving. And the point about the word secretly, is really is referring to using the movement of your breath as the medium for synchronizing with the receiving and taking. So when you breathe in, you take upon yourself or into yourself all the afflictions and problems of the others, and when you breathe out, you give all your virtues, good fortune, and so on. And then the word secretly can be understood as suggesting that this particular type of practice may not be completely appropriate for everybody. So particularly the Bodhisattva practitioners who are of not the intelligent mindset. So therefore the word secretly is used.
Oh yeah. Teta kunja chöje towe time mabashings. Taya dirigibe dongling nyamlin che, chanju sen nyamlin che ni. 양치 소소 땀 던도 내려 서로 뭐 던도 내려 서로 제가 있나 이니 최 겨우 주주 처리야 되고서 아니야가 요 되는 이 전에 대자 군장 최예지 똑배트면 마방식. 다디 아니 단담 전주 심기 다 된대기 차단 맞이야. 아니 디 냠볼이야. 아니 추긴 규모를 시에벨로 사다디 나야메도 규모도 다 되게 공부 쉬스면들이 간다 십제배 나리야 산제 기순 꼭주추 건시 태송 진유 대이 동바 니된데 니니 코너 이지자세 송도가 십제배 나라 띵문을다 나 이제 증거를 동니가 다 지 걸어 가서 동니가 지귤 기야지 나고 맹엘의 연구면으로 삼천기 배는 세리에서 나눠야 상무시다 동네기 최소지 때는 중앙사디 돈아 쉽지도 와. 그봐. 자산가 든지게 돈에 이 신의 산지에 처리야 돈알이야지. 용도가. 자 든지 인도 지 배는 잠도스 러이나 샘지스 러이나 배지 나고지 배지 차고 할지. 동네가 다 상동에 나고 명예질 배지 용아. 자 든지 인도 산지 기술 꼭주주 건시 태송 견주고 대의 동반 이된데 니니 권을 이시자스. 송샤들이 나도 것을 세르고 되는 놈들이야. 나도 땡중기 거 시주전에 내 이미지 그게 전혀. 도대체 정도게. 아니 땡중 담디 세르고 시기로 했어. 당연히 요 말이지 땡중 담사지. 다 땡중 담사지 세르고 나로 우주점 다 세르고 아니 그게 가서 그래. 자유로 지나로 레디야 됐어. 돼서 잘해요. 정도게. 진짜 너무 정도게. 너 진짜 신용. 자산가 때는 좋아 때는 좋아 사지 쉬우지도 않아 그래서 든지게 전에 있는 산지에 쉬어야 주의질해야지 그 연구를 벌써 쉽게 받을 수 없어.
So the final verse reads, may all of this remain undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and may I, recognizing all things as illusion, devoid of clinging, be released from bondage. So the first 2 lines emphasize the importance of your motivation when you are engaging in the practice, especially such as Tonglen, giving and receiving. When you engage in this practice, there is a possibility that sometimes these practices could be, spoiled by, wrong motivations, thinking that, people will respect me, I'm going to be a great meditator, I'm going to be famous, people will honor me, and so on. So if these motivations become part of your practice, reasons for practicing, then they are inappropriate. So one should, guard against these kind of motivations creeping in and spoiling your practice. And ultimately, the main antidote that needs to be applied is really the wisdom of emptiness that we spoke about. And that is the one that is pointed out in the last 2 lines when the reference is made to, recognizing all things as illusion and, getting rid of the clinging. So that is the most important, really, antidote that will help in dealing with these afflictions. And here, the point is really being emphasizing the importance of the teaching on emptiness. And Aryadeva makes a very important point. He says that when engaging with the Buddha's teachings, especially in relation to those things that are very obscure, the way to lead people to that is to first teach emptiness. And once the truth of emptiness is understood, then they can be gradually led to the other more obscure teachings, difficult teachings. And this, I think, is a very important insight, because I sometimes think in this way, that if you look at the important elements of the Buddhist practice and path, such as going for refuge, or such as generating bodhicitta, or meditation on emptiness, bodhicitta, taking refuge, and so on, these are very specifically Buddhist. You can see that they for such a person to do this, you require to be a Buddhist. But when it comes to understanding emptiness, I don't think you really need to be a Buddhist. I in fact feel that sometimes some scientists are actually quite close to appreciating the teaching of emptiness. And I remember having conversations with some scientists, and I once asked one scientist, do scientists and does science actually talk about the concept of interdependence and dependent origination? In Buddhism, we talk about pratitha samuppada, the origination of things through mere dependence. And one scientist told me that not in the past, science does not use such phraseology and there's no such concepts as interdependence, but gradually through interaction with Buddhists and probably influence of the Buddhism, Buddhist thinking, the notion of interdependence and dependent origination is beginning to find a seed in the scientific vocabulary as well. And this, I think, says something about the universal nature of the concept of emptiness. And I don't think you really have to be Buddhist just to appreciate and understand it.
So, thank you now. Completed. As I mentioned, I think yesterday also, everywhere, telling people, it is important to keep one's own traditional religion. Change religion, not easy. So here in West, Judeo-Christian tradition, so the important, once you accept one's own religion, then you should be serious and sincere. So that I want to tell you. And then among millions of people, some individual, you see, due to their mental disposition, you see, more, or say, they effect from Buddhist tradition. So then it is individual freedom of religion. So you can follow Buddhadharma. But once we follow Buddhadharma, it's not sufficient just I am Buddhist. No. And recite Buddham Shanam Gacchami, Dharmam Shanam Gacchami, Sangham Shanam Gacchami. Not sufficient. You must study what's Buddhadharma, the whole system of Buddhadharma. Study. One time in Himalayan range, once I visited the local people are Buddhist. Then I asked them, you are follower of Buddhadharma? They say, yes, we are Buddhist. Then I asked, what is Buddhism? They say, Buddham Shanam Gacchami, Dharmam Shanam Gacchami, Sangham, that's Buddhism. Then I asked, what is Buddha? What is Dharma? No answer. They say, we don't know. So like that, see, the many Buddhists just recite some sort of Buddhist word, but not understanding. So naturally, people just carry faith, not study. That is very important. Therefore, I always, expressing, we Buddhists should be 21st century Buddhist. So Buddhist faith is on the basis of reason, analyze. Then you find, Buddhadharma, something really scientific religion, and it affects my emotion. Then become Buddhist. That's good. Just faith. Then not 21st century Buddhist. So then this training our mind really makes differences, our way of thinking. Through that way of life. I myself, I think till 13, 14, 15, not much interest, just some study, learning, compulsory, as a student. No interest of practice. Then gradually, I pay more attention for practice. Then after I reached India, I again study all those texts which I already sort of learned. And the previous my study is for examination, not Buddha, for Buddhahood. And after 59, as a refugee, and then study Buddhism, aiming Buddhahood. So now last 50, 60 years, really transformed my mind, particularly the Shunyata theory, really, and altruism, these two things. Really, sometimes I feel some kind of inner liberation, self-centered attitude, your mind something tight. And concept things independently exist. Again, you see, tight. When nothing exists as appears, then the self-centered attitude is the key sort of this, because of the key factor to bring a lot of worry, a lot of sort of anxiety and anger and jealousy. So these two things are, I think, ultimate source of anxiety, unhappiness, and eventually ruined your own health. So thinking altruism as the antidote of self-centered attitude. Then understanding shunyata,
emptiness.
You see, nothing exists as appears. So these practice really affect my emotion. In my daily prayer, this is some different sort of deity visualizations. A lot of deities, not much effect. This practice of altruism, practice of nothing independently exists, these two things really they immense help my emotion. Okay, so we are same. As I always mentioned, physically, emotionally, mentally, we are same. So since I have some sort of benefit from this practice, so you also, since now today's audience, suppose you also have some interest about Buddhism, so you see, think seriously and study, very, very important. Okay. Thank you. I think also